The animals, trap, trap, trap till the cages fall. The cages fall, but the day is new, and everyone is waiting, waiting on you, and you've got time. Think of all the roads, think of all the...
Okay, so we started off with this for a particular reason, and John's going to explain that later, but one of the lighter notes of starting with this is, I'm sure most of us, or maybe, have seen Orange is the New Black, and we find it very interesting that a lot of people that we have come to our complexes automatically think this is what they're going to see. This is what prison is about. So it's very interesting to hear that from the people that come to volunteer or that even start at a new position at one of our complexes. Especially at the complex that I work at is Perryville Complex. It's a women's facility. My name is Krista Spivey. I am the one of the correctional education program supervisors. Right now, I currently oversee our high school program, and I'll be talking about that a little later. I am an ASU alumni. Woo woo. My boss and I argue about that all the time. So I started out in public schools as a behavior support teacher, grades 5th through 8th. I had all of the at-risk kids, the ones that no one else wanted, but I loved the job so much. I still miss it. But after that, I wanted to pursue other career options. So I did find out about the Department of Corrections and applied there and was a special education teacher there for 3 years at Perryville. And then I promoted to Lewis and was a correctional education supervisor there. And now I'm back at Perryville. So I guess I just like to travel around. And now my partner in crime.
Not the same complex. My name is Melissa Romines. I think ASU is probably the one university I have not been to. I started out at Central Arizona College, transferred to Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego, California. Came back, got my master's in Northern Arizona University, and I'm currently a student at Grand Canyon University. So I think I'm just gonna try for all of them and let's see which one sticks. I am currently the education supervisor over at Iden Complex, and you know there are so many things about this job that are just amazing. I started out as a 3rd grade teacher, and I taught elementary for about 6 years. I've became a corrections teacher in 2009, and I've been doing it ever since. Again, we'll be talking a lot about the different programs that ADC offers. And I'll be going into more detail about our mandatory literacy program. So in the meantime, Mr. Roberts.
Hi, I'm going to move just slightly here while Krista logs me back in. My name is John Roberts. I'm one of the education supervisors at Perryville, along with Krista. I am a Boston native, so boo Yankees, Red Sox fan. I've been in corrections for over 20 years. I started out with the Massachusetts Department of Correction. I was an officer, I promoted there, moved out to Arizona, and I was in programs, and I honestly fell into education. I would go to the morning meetings, and one of the education supervisors was there, and they would always have professional development days, and he would jokingly call them snow days. So I said, I want to get involved with some of these snow days, and come to find out they weren't snow days. There was actually work involved with that too. But I love teaching. I did staff development, so I figured I got into corrections because I wanted to get into that corrections part and not warehousing, which is what we do. And a lot of what I was doing was part of the warehousing. And corrections, the number one thing with corrections is education. So that's why I became a teacher. That was almost 15 years ago. I'm still doing it, and I love it. So back to the Orange is the New Black. Does anybody watch that show? Okay. All right, okay. You don't want to admit it, but some of you watch it. I don't watch it, honestly. Not to say that I'm better than anybody that does watch it. But do you listen to the words there? The animal, trap, trap, trap until the cage is full. That's what we want to get away from, obviously, because these are not animals. And Johnny was saying it earlier, call them people. I learned when I was doing research for this, or not learned, but I found out another term, returning citizens. And that really struck a chord with me. These are returning citizens. We don't want to warehouse our population and then just push them out the door. We need to connect with them and give them the skills to be successful. So with that in mind, I'd like to show you one other video from Dr. Christian Conte. He was doing a TEDx at the Pittsburgh State Prison.
I got to tell you, though, last night I had an anxiety dream. I dreamt that right before I came, but when we look at recidivism rates across the United States, we see some estimates as high as 70%. Let me put that in perspective for you. What that means is nearly 7 out of 10 people who leave prison will return at some point. 7 out of 10. That's not okay. It's time for all of us to stop diffusing our responsibility about this and start acting on what we know is right, which is to try to provide the type of environment in prison that changes this. I really believe that a big part of why recidivism rates are so high is that as a culture, we have a tendency to just write people off who commit crimes. I know a lot of people say, but to me, I want to say this. I'm not the first person to notice this, but in many ways, prison is like a timeout for adults. Except instead of just sitting there, a lot of times people pick up the type of negative behavioral patterns that aren't helpful on the outside. And a lot of people will say, like, they hurt people. Who cares how they spend their time in there? Okay. But if 7 out of 10 people are reoffending, who do you think they're reoffending on? We're all in this world together. If somebody gets hurt, that's our brother or sister, mother or father, son or daughter. You can't wait until someone breaks in your home to let this message hit home that recidivism is all of our issue. I really believe that we write people off who commit violent crimes instead of trying to take the time to understand their perspective and teach them a more peaceful path. Now, I got to tell you, in the past, when I've even mentioned to take the time to understand someone's perspective who commits a violent crime, people have this visceral reaction. Like, understand their perspective. They need to understand ours. Okay, fair enough. Now, I don't know how many of you have had interactions with other human beings, but it's been my experience that people don't just change their perspective simply because you tell them to.
So that's what we do in the Arizona Department of Corrections when it comes to inmate programs and reentry, the education part of it. That's what we are attempting to do with our programs. Currently, we have over 40,000 inmates incarcerated in the Department of Correction. And there's plenty of people out there that have the idea of, whatever, they deserve what they're getting, they deserve to be in there. We're going to warehouse them. We're not going to give them anything. They don't deserve an education. Fine, have that point of view. But those people are also the people that are concerned about dollars and cents. So let's break this down quickly with dollars and cents. There's a study that was done over a 30-year period by the RAND Corporation in conjunction with the U.S. Department of Justice. And the study found that if inmates participate in any education program, they are 43% less likely to come back into prison. So still, that doesn't break down to dollars and cents. What it does break down to dollars and cents is for every $1 spent on correctional education, the taxpayer gets $5 back in reincarceration costs. So if that inmate is incarcerated, gets educated, leaves, the taxpayer is saving $5 because they're not going to come back. At least they're 43% less likely to come back. This is a hot topic I'm tripping over all my words today. Hot topic within the governor's office also. It is one of his initiatives to lower recidivism by 25%, 25% over the next 10 years. And going back to the animal trapped in the cage. These are humans, they're not animals. These are people, they are capable of change. And every interaction that we have with them as educators is an opportunity to reinforce pro-social behaviors. So we might not be specifically addressing that, but everybody here, most people here, have probably seen Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi with the wax on, wax off. Daniel didn't know that he was being taught self-defense there as well. We're also teaching inmates pro-social behaviors by educating them as well. And Melissa's going to take over in just a second while we attempt to show another video.
Education is an important part of prison life. Inmates who do not have a high school diploma are required to attend classes up to 8th grade equivalency and are encouraged to work towards their GED certification.
I tell every inmate that when I was young and foolish and dropped out of school myself, I was mandated to take the GED when I was in the Marine Corps, and I went kicking and screaming, as I see many of them do. And it opened doors for me, and it will open doors for them, and I try to explain that. The level of instruction here is comparable to anything you'd find elsewhere in the state or in other states for their appropriate GED classes. And the test is the same. The exuberance that some of the folks show when they pass either the 8th grade literacy or the GED, it warms your heart.
So for our functional literacy program, we do have Arizona law that basically requires all those coming into the prison system to pass at an 8th grade mandatory literacy level. It's it's law. There's not a whole lot of choice in whether a person were to attend a functional literacy class or not. So whenever I was a teacher at a prison system in the beginning, I was in charge of assigning students to different classrooms. Now that's no longer our processes, but I would always get the students that are newly incarcerated. I would put them in my classroom, and I remember my supervisor asking, "Romines, why do you keep putting these students in your classroom?" And I want that first go at it. I want to be able to change their perspective and change how they're viewing prison, how they view our programs or whatever. I want to be the first one that they come to hopefully be able to influence them in a positive way. Functional literacy is where all of our students are going to start, regardless of any kind of degree that they may have, and also regardless of whether they want to be there or not. Like I said, it is mandatory according to law. We have 8th grade levels of reading, math, and language, and if they don't reach that proficiency level, you have to be enrolled in class, and you have to come Monday through Friday for 3 hours a day in a place a lot of our students don't want to be. And so what do we do, and how do we deal with these students? How do we change their perspective and what we're trying to do, Completions impact release dates, pay rates, phase level visitation. This is more the prison aspect of it. What I hope to get across, with all of my students and now with my staff over at Inmate as well, is we want to put across that prison is not your stopping point. This, for whatever reason you are here right now, let's make the best of our time here in order to move forward, however that looks like. Just as mandatory class shouldn't be the stopping point in your education as well. Let's get you through this. A lot of times my students' motivation was, let's get through this so we don't have to put up with Miss Romines anymore. That's okay, I'm okay with that. Whatever gets them motivated to progress in their education, to look for something better, to get their GED, high school diploma, to move on to higher level, higher education learning. We all definitely have a part and a role to play. And so with that, our next program being high school or GED. Yes, Mr. Roberts.
Officially, the program is called the High School Equivalency Program. The GED title is owned by the GED testing service through Pearson VUE. So we have to call it the High School Equivalency Program. However, our students do take the GED test to earn their high school equivalency diploma through the Arizona Department of Education. The GED test was originally given to World War II veterans when they returned from service so that they could have the same credentials as a regular high school student, high school graduate, in order to get into trade school, college, further education. The test has been revised several times over the years, and the most recent revision came in 2014. And with that revision, the test was aligned with the nationwide Common Core standards in reading, language arts, social studies, science, and math. Also, it is on computer-based, and it is given in a secure testing environment. I know none of that sounds too interesting, but what that means is the students that come in and take our test are taking the same test as any student that is on the outside. Our program is, the curriculum is through a computer-based program called GED Academy, and on there the students take their qualifying tests, they take all kinds of lessons, and our teachers are expected to incorporate those computer-based lessons with classroom instruction as well. Arizona has made it a law that any high school graduate pass the civics exam, and that's the test that is given to any high school graduate. So if anybody that takes the GED test, they also have to pass the civics test as well. Let's see, what else? We used to require our students to pay for the test. And it's kind of ironic that Pastor Benny mentioned Matthew 25, because there was a wonderful prison ministry that donated money to us, the Matthew 25:36 prison ministry out of the Red Mountain Church in Mesa, and they funded the majority of the women at Perryville to take their GED test. So I feel like I need to mention them because I'm incredibly grateful to that. However, in December, the state took it upon themselves to pay for everybody's test. And it was very strange for a little while because for a bit, GED was the only program that an inmate actually had to pay to get a completion with. So luckily now that is no longer the case. So we have upped our motivation levels as well in our classroom because they don't have to worry about having the burden of paying for it themselves. In regards to the test difficulty, believe it or not, there is a sample of high school graduates annually that take the test, and 30% of them fail. So the test is a lot more difficult than people think. It used to be called the Good Enough Diploma. That was the bad nickname for it. But now it is truly a high school equivalency diploma. And next up, Krista is going to talk about our high school program.
Right, so high school, this was probably the most exciting thing for me, working in education in Department of Corrections, for them to get this high school started. My counterparts already think that I'm a huge dork when it comes to education. Like, I get really excited about it. I love reading about it. I love doing best practices. I'm just so much for it. So for them to start this program and give inmates the opportunity to earn a high school diploma was just phenomenal to me. I think that this is a population that a lot of people don't take time to spend time with to make sure that they are getting the things that they need to meet their needs upon release and transitioning in order to reduce recidivism, as we've been talking about earlier. All of our programs, including the functional literacy and the GED programs, are all accredited. Our high school program started with Life Learning Academy, that is the minors unit at the Tucson facility. So in 2014, the minors unit was accredited by Advanced Ed. After that, and all of the wiring and computers and everything else was put there, later on, all of the other sites came on board in 2017 and was accredited by the Correctional Education Association. So all of our programs are accredited. A little bit of history. Our high school program started in 2013. So that was with Life Learning Academy for the minors in Tucson. From there, it grew and it went to each and every complex. Our adult program is actually called Success Academy. So it depends on which complex that it's at. So it's Perryville Success Academy or Iman Success Academy. But we have both minors and adults earning their diplomas. At the Life Learning Academy, it was something that was so brand new for the state. When I started in 2011, it was very unheard of to have any kind of computers in the classroom. Everything was pencil paper, everything was locked down. No one had really that mindset of stepping outside the box and pushing the parameters for education and the things that we could do. So that's why it was such a big deal. They installed the thin clients, we had the A+ curriculum, there was wiring of every complex and the setup of the high school program in every single classroom. Between 2013 and 2017, 10 sites were wired. And since then, we've had approximately 151 graduates from either Life Learning Academy or Success Academy. So curriculum, the fun stuff. See, I told you I'm a dork. Fun stuff. Okay, we have A+. A+ is actually a computer software program that is aligned with AZCCRS, the Arizona standards, Common Core standards. And the students work mostly in a blended learning environment to where most of the time they're telling us just to leave them alone. Let me get this course done. Let me get my American History A out of the way. Don't come and bother me. But if they do run into problems, we do have the teachers that offer the support and the instruction and the direct instruction to help them through those courses. All of our high school programs within our complexes do meet the ADE requirements for graduation. We make sure that we follow everything that they have laid out for us. We also are just now starting to take the AZ Merit, and that's so much fun. Yay, where they have to take like 6 classes or 6 tests at one time. But we're working through it. We also have a special education program, which is Exceptional Student Services Program, where anyone that is under the age of 22 does receive special education services if they need them. All of our ESS students are within our high school program. So we're helping them all earn diplomas through the services that they need. Oh, it shut down on me. So instruction related to the curriculum. We have a blended learning model like I was telling you about. All of our teachers are in the classrooms utilizing the computer programs as well as providing direct instruction. Our classroom setup, we have about, and I would say statewide, it ranges anywhere from about 15 to 25 students in a classroom at one time. And these abilities range literally K to 12. We have anyone from the age of 18 to 85, 99. So it's a very hard job for our teachers to tackle. You may say that, oh, you don't have the parent-teacher conferences, or you don't have to stay after to host the dances and have bus duty and all of that. But this is a very hard job. Their classes last for 3 hours, but they literally have all 3 programs sometimes running in their classroom with all of the age groups, all of the ability groups, everything. So it's very hard to juggle, but that's why we definitely appreciate our shout out to ADC teachers in the room. thank you for everything that you do, because it is a very hard feat. But they do it each and every day, rain or shine, no breaks. Teacher responsibilities, just kind of talked about that. They have several things going on at one time, and not only do they have to worry about instruction, but also the security aspect. I know that some of our ASU volunteers have seen that firsthand. So, and then lastly, we have graduations. This is the greatest part ever. Our graduates get to wear cap and gowns. Oh, or arrows, yeah.
Yeah,
Arrows work. So we have a clip of one of our first graduate, actually, that came out of Perryville. This was the very first graduate of Success Academy. They're going to say Life Learning Academy, but later on we had to change it from Life Learning Academy and separate the minors from the adults. So this is actually the first graduate of Success Academy.
Yeah.
But our graduations, they get to wear cap and gowns, they get an actual diploma, they get to invite their family, they get to have cake, we even go the whole 9, they walk into Pomp and Circumstance, we have a photographer. We really try to bring the real experience to their graduations, because this is an accomplishment that they've been working towards for a very long time, and they may have never thought that they would actually succeed in getting this diploma. So we try to make it as special as possible with decorations and everything, and really try to go all out. And cake. They love the cake.
And
Another thing we also do is we try to encourage our high school students that are currently enrolled and their tutors. They have them participate in the graduations as well, just to increase the encouragement. Like, hey, your classmates did it. This is what you're going to get in a couple of months if you keep working hard at your courses and you finish this program. I'm trying to buy you time and keep talking, but
here we go.
Being an astrophysicist right now is like being a rock star.
Only without the sex.
Yeah, literally none of
The Big Bang Theory.
This is a first for the Arizona Department of Corrections. One of its inmate graduates graduates from high school while serving her sentence, and we're not talking about a GED. This is an actual diploma. It's a brand new program being implemented in just a handful of prisons. Fox 10's Anita Roman has more.
Behind the heavily guarded gates that lead to the entrance of Perryville Prison in Goodyear, inmates like Ashley Gibbons are making the most of their time behind bars.
I have about 3 years left.
Gibbons, who is 6 months into her sentence, has already accomplished something no other inmate can say they have done, at least not in the state of Arizona. On January 28th, Gibbons graduated high school.
Good, I feel accomplished. I don't feel like I'm so behind anymore. I feel accomplished, I feel good, I feel proud of myself.
Gibbons is the first Department of Corrections inmate to complete the newly accredited High School Life Learning Academy. Unlike a GED, this program is tied to the same state educational standards all Arizona public students must meet.
Our goal is, with an education, that inmates can increase their chances of staying out of prison. And that's good for all of Arizona. 60
inmates are currently enrolled, 57 in Tucson and 3 here in Perryville. The program, which took 2.5 years to establish, serves inmates 21 years old or younger.
We will certainly be tracking. We are developing a system where we can see what happens with these inmates once they've achieved their diploma and left us.
I've always liked school, I just let the drugs take over, but I've always enjoyed it.
Gibbons aspires to go to college and become a psychologist and feels her newest accomplishment will take her down the right path. Anita Roman, Fox 10 News.
The Department of Corrections hopes to take this program statewide.
So, and it has become statewide. It was initially under the age of 21. That's when it was called Life Learning Academy. Now it's open for all. So we have a lot of adults that have graduated, and like I said, we have approximately 151 graduates since this day. So it's something that we're definitely proud of, and we're continuing to make the program better and better.
But wait, there's more. We also have post-secondary programs. We have career and technical education, and those are college courses that are offered through our local community colleges. They are hands-on in things like plumbing, automotive, electrical. We have a plumbing program for the women at Perryville, and there's a vast majority of them that did not want to be in that program. They said, why am I here? Why do you want me to be a plumbing, be a plumber. I want to go and do something else. Well, then we had somebody from outside contractor come in and speak to the classes, and they said, literally, if you are getting out in the next 3 to 6 months, I will hire you. He told them how much they would get paid, and then at the end of the presentation, I asked, all right, how many of you are interested in this program now? And almost all of them raised their hands. So they saw that maybe it's not what they aspired to do, but it's going to be something that is going to help them when they get out. It is going to be something that is going to help them earn a livable wage. And we also have distance learning classes.
Did you have anything you wanted to add about CT?
We do, over at Iman, it's really interesting. We do offer food prep services as well as HVAC air conditioning, which in Arizona is fabulous. And we also have building maintenance, which is a lot to do in conjunction with the work release programs. We have a lot of companies and buildings that are working with ADC in order to provide jobs pretty much immediately upon release. So it's definitely a great thing, absolutely.
So we also have distance learning. One of the colleges that we partner with is Rio Salado. I actually have Khaleesi and Han back here. Hi. We have actually developed a great partnership with Rio Salado through Khaleesi. The one thing I love about this is the transition that we have going on from our GED and our high school graduates. So once they get done with this graduation, GED and high school, they graduate together, we give them their certificates and diplomas. We have them meet with a Rio Salado representative, most times it's Khaleesi, and we get them right into college courses. There's already built-in packages that Rio Salado has created. However, if the student shows interest in something, another avenue than what they have, Rio Salado really does work with us in order to get them scholarships. John brought up Matthew 25:36. They are now donating to Rio Salado and giving scholarship money for our students at Perryville to go right into distance learning. So that's been very, very successful for them. So we're trying to make it to where they get as much education as possible so they will have as many opportunities as possible when they do leave. We also have it through other colleges that they can mostly do on their own. However, the scholarships and everything usually come from Rio Salado. We also have our ASU volunteer classes. Some of those classes, yes. The more programs, the better. And I can't wait until if you guys give college credits, that's going to be phenomenal. You can tie that into what they're already doing, so that would be great. But we have classes like creative writing, screenwriting, Spanish, American history, art, journalism, business skills, job skills, public health, and math. This is a class that I'm really appreciative for because with our GED and our high school students, this math instructor volunteer comes and helps our high school students for geometry and algebra, for our GED students, and then also we have our tutors participate because our tutors are actually the students' peers within the classroom, and they're learning new skills in order to help each other. So it's a phenomenal program. We appreciate Dr. Wells and everything that she's brought to our complexes, and we look forward to...
And you're getting Chinese.
And we're getting Chinese. I want to sit on that class.
This is your Chinese teacher in the fall.
All right, any questions for any one of us now that we've talked your ear off. Yes?
Yes. Are there huge waiting lists for prisoners to get into the various classes and whatever? Or are they easily accommodated for the number of people that want to?
It depends on our, do you mind if I take this one?
Go for it.
It depends on our program, and it depends on what they need to be enrolled in. So if it's functional literacy, it really depends on the unit, the complex, how many that they have on that unit that have taken the test of adult basic education when they first came in and didn't pass it. GED, there's a wait list for enrollment there too, and that can be a long list. It just depends on the population at the unit and the complex. High school is actually, they want to get in that program. There's not a waiting list for high school. There is, but there's not. A lot of our students have actually shown interest after they finish functional literacy and say that they want to go in the high school. Hey, I have 17 credits and I didn't finish. I really want to get my diploma. And once they tell us that interest, and that's when we put them into the high school. For distance learning, no. They fill out an application. It goes to Rio Salado. There's not really a waiting list for that, unless there's one within Rio Salado that I don't know about, but not when it comes to Department of Corrections.
There is right now. We have a funding program for a scholarship. We just utilized all of our funding, so there will be a waiting list for the summer semester. What we're going to try to do is roll all of our continuing students into the fall semester. I know that we have about 100 to 200 applicants for Perryville alone. I probably have 500 to 1,000 waiting right now. Some of those are continuing students and some of those are new students. So we're going to have to look at that. It's all funding. But some of our students also self-pay for those that can self-pay. The MAP 25 has helped a great deal because now we'll be able to scholarship Perryville for summer versus we wouldn't because we run out of those funds.
Yeah, we try to pump them through. You're probably like, stop, but I know that I push a whole bunch through, like every day. Can you take this one? Can you take this one? So, but there's not it just literally the waiting list really just depend on the complex and the unit. I'm sure that we have some units that have no waiting list for anything. We've got them all enrolled, they're all in a program, and then we have some that have a very long waiting list, maybe 50 to 100, it just really depends. Same thing for career and technical education. Did that answer your question? Okay.
What challenges do you find trying to get people who are incarcerated into educational programs interested in the programs?
Getting them into the program isn't a problem. You can imagine that getting them interested, that can be challenging. I've worked with the men and the women. Generally, the women are more interested. They see the value in education. The men, there's a lot of them that you have to break down that machismo, where they feel like I'm not stupid, so don't try and teach me anything. So you have to talk to them on a human-to-human level, not I'm better than you, I'm more intellectual and everything, and you have to talk to them in a language that they understand at times and make that connection. And unfortunately, we've had teachers that have left us that don't make that connection, and they don't look at them as individuals, as citizens that will be returning to the population that we live in, and they look at them as inmates. And they don't make that connection, and they aren't successful teachers. The teachers that are able to make that connection, they're the ones that we have the best success rates from. So it's honestly just, to simplify it, it's caring. It is honestly caring.
One of the problems that we have is that these juveniles are convicted felons. They have a little harder time getting into programs. How can we get them involved, or is there any hope for those people?
Juvenile?
You said how to get juveniles into programs?
Yes, we have juveniles that have been incarcerated, and so they're convicted felons, And many of the programs that are available, they say, oh, we can't help the convicted felons. Is that something that can be worked with?
Absolutely. I think there's been a few grants out there. I'm not sure exactly how many altogether, but I know in Florence we have the Second Chance Grant Program, technology grant that was basically given to North Unit from Director Ryan in order to give students that have their GED, they have mandatory, they're within a year of release, let's say. Now we're going to move them to a higher level of learning to give them opportunities not only to build their resume, but also I served as an intern project manager while we were waiting for somebody to come on board, and it was just really interesting. I'm excited to see where it's gone and where it's going, but it was basically my job to contact buildings, businesses, people who were willing to employ those that have been incarcerated. And, yeah, there might be some that say we want nothing to do with it. And I think all of us, whether incarcerated or not, we go through challenges or whatever in finding employment. And it's good that we're able to actually weed out the ones that don't want to have anything to do with those that have been previously incarcerated. We want the ones that want that challenge. And we've spoken with quite a few companies who they have said the motivation for these guys to have a job, that actually pays a living, not a McDonald's wage, so to speak. But I think corrections is definitely headed in a positive direction as far as not just giving them the education, but let's give you the tools and skills necessary to build your resume, to help find a job, to get them where I know one of the companies said they had somebody drive the van down to the prison, and that was their ride to pick up an inmate from release. And he started work the next day. And so it's definitely a positive initiative. Yes, sir. Ma'am? Oh, sorry.
So, for the 60% or 7% of people that are incarcerated, they aren't receiving their education or are choosing to do that. Do you have a program within your facility that says people that have been successful or are working with other people that aren't so successful to kind of give them that opportunity to change their lives and maybe why make the decision to become educated?
There are a lot of inmates within our classrooms. It's not just the civilian teachers in there as well. We have inmates that work for us as tutors and as aides, and a lot of them have already come through our program, so they can speak as from a student side who has been successful there. There's also, outside of education, there's peer mentorship programs within the department, and they are trying to assist the younger inmates that are still stuck in that criminal mentality with coming off and saying, okay, this is where the change in the thinking for me happened. Hopefully we can spark that with you as well.
And we'll now break for lunch. You guys didn't ask your questions during the break.
Okay. We'll stay up here.
Yeah, before you break though, I do want to say thank you very much to Johnny and Benny. You are the guys, you are the reasons why we do this. And we want people to be like you guys. So thank you very much.